"You'll never be my dad." The words struck like a blade, sharpened by years of silence and swallowed resentment. Jacob shouted it as he slammed his bedroom door, the echo rattling through the walls I had paid to keep standing. I stood there, groceries in my arms, frozen in the hallway, watching the wood quiver in its frame as if the house itself was holding its breath. I was 41 years old, and in that moment, I understood what it meant to be erased inside your own home. 7 years. That's how long I had been married to Hannah. 7 years of building a life brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. 7 years of holding together a family that wasn't mine by blood but became mine by duty, by choice, by love that no one seemed to notice. When I met Hannah, she was already a mother twice over. Jacob was 9 then, a wiry boy with restless eyes who demanded attention without ever asking for it. Kate was 7, shy, always hiding behind her mother's skirt, her voice a whisper you had to lean down to catch. Their biological father lived 2 states away, a ghost who appeared for birthdays or Christmas with shiny boxes and hollow words. A man who promised summer visits, road trips, plane tickets, things that dissolved like smoke the moment he drove away. I stepped into that absence. I told myself it didn't matter that they weren't mine, that bloodlines were irrelevant compared to presence. I took on the role without hesitation. Mortgage payments, groceries, school clothes, doctor's visits, braces, soccer uniforms, piano lessons. Every bill had my name on it, and I paid without keeping score, without waiting for thanks. I believe children didn't need reminders of sacrifice. They needed the security of never doubting where home was. In those early years, I thought it was working. I remember Jacob falling asleep on my shoulder during a Braves game, his little body heavy with trust. I remember Kate running to me with a drawing, calling me Daddy without hesitation, without thought. Those moments felt like proof that I was doing something right, that my labor was not just numbers in a bank account but bricks in a foundation. But time erodes foundations when cracks are ignored. By the time Jacob turned 13, something shifted. His voice dropped, his eyes hardened, and he looked at me not with curiosity but with challenge. Every request became a negotiation, every rule a battle. Kate followed suit in her own way. She didn't fight me, not openly. She withdrew. Her laughter became private, tucked away in whispered conversations on her phone. She slipped past me in the hallways like I was furniture, not flesh. At first, I thought it was typical adolescence. Teenagers rebel, I told myself. They push boundaries. It wasn't personal. But then came the small cruelties, the words they didn't think I heard, the tone sharpened just enough to cut. One afternoon, I was passing Kate's room when her voice carried out through the crack in the door. She was on the phone with a friend, speaking in that eager, conspiratorial way girls do. And I heard it clear, cold, casual. David acts like he owns the place, but it's not even his house. I stopped breathing. Not his house. I had signed the loan papers. I had scraped together the down payment. Every board, every wall, every repair, every monthly installment came from my sweat, my time, my hours spent hunched at a desk or breaking my back in overtime. And in her mind, in the story she told her friend, I was an intruder staking false claims in a place that wasn't mine. I walked away without confronting her, but those words settled in my chest like stones. And then Jacob delivered the finishing blow. The slammed door, the shout, "You'll never be my dad." It was not a slip of the tongue. It was the truth he had been waiting to hurl at me, the same truth Kate had whispered when she thought I couldn't hear. The truth Hannah had silently allowed to grow like mold in the corners of our home. Because Hannah knew. She saw the disrespect in their eyes. She heard the dismissive tones, the sharp remarks. She noticed how they turned to her for validation anytime I asked them to do something as simple as picking up after themselves. And yet, she stayed silent. Her silence was her shield, her way of avoiding conflict. When Jacob slammed his door, Hannah didn't flinch. She didn't follow him. She didn't defend me. She stood in the kitchen with her arms crossed, her face carefully neutral, as if the outburst had been nothing more than a gust of wind rattling the windows. "They're teenagers," she said later when I brought it up. "It doesn't mean anything. Don't take it personally." But it did mean something. It meant everything. For 7 years, I had been the constant. I was the one who paid for Jacob's baseball camps, for Kate's choir trips, for the braces that straightened her teeth. I was the one who stayed up late fixing leaks, repainting walls, patching the roof. I was the one who worked through exhaustion to keep their world intact. Their father gave them stories. I gave them stability. And yet, in their eyes, I was an outsider, an imposter, a man they tolerated only because my wallet kept their lives comfortable. The disrespect grew in increments, like shadows stretching as the day fades. Jacob's jokes turned sharper, always at my expense. Kate's indifference thickened into contempt. I became the butt of their whispered laughter, the obstacle in their path, the man who acted like he owned the place. But the cruelest cut wasn't their words. It was Hannah's silence. She never corrected them. She never demanded respect. She brushed it aside with tired excuses. They're just kids. They're still adjusting. They don't mean it. She let the weight of discipline fall solely on me, then undermined it with her passivity. Every time she looked away, she gave them permission to despise me. Every time she refused to speak, she told them my role was optional. I began to wonder if I had been a fool all along. If the bedtime stories, the late-night drives, the countless checks signed in ink and in blood meant nothing more than a convenient arrangement. Maybe I hadn't built a family, I had built a transaction. And transactions can be cancelled. The hallway was still vibrating from Jacob's slammed door when I set the groceries down on the counter and stood in the silence of the kitchen. Hannah moved past me without a word, pouring herself a glass of water, her face unreadable. Kate was upstairs, laughing softly into her phone. Jacob was in his room, muttering curses under his breath. And me? I stood there, 41 years old, realizing for the first time that everything I had built might have been an illusion. They didn't see me as a father. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a placeholder, as an outsider, as a man with a wallet. And in that silence, I felt something harden inside me, a line beginning to draw itself. I should have expected it. After years of small cruelties, of silence and laughter that stopped when I entered the room, the breaking point was inevitable. But inevitability doesn't dull the sting. It happened on a gray afternoon, the kind of day where the rain doesn't fall but hangs in the air, soaking everything without ever letting go. I came home early from work. The house was quiet except for the low hum of voices spilling from the kitchen. I stepped into the hallway, dropped my keys onto the table, and froze. Laughter. Sharp, careless, cutting. Jacob's voice first. He acts like he's some kind of boss here, always telling us what to do. Kate's reply, dripping with scorn. Yeah, like he owns us or something. Please, he's just an outsider. And then Jacob again, mocking, rehearsed like a chorus line. You'll never be our dad. You're just an ATM. Their laughter burst like glass shattering on tile. I stood there, my hand on the doorframe, and for the first time in 7 years I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, just a cold, blank clarity. In that moment I understood. They had finally spoken the truth they had always carried. I was not family. I was a convenience. They saw me not as a man, not as the one who held their lives together, but as a faceless provider. Money with a pulse, a name on checks, nothing more. And the silence that followed their laughter told me the rest of the story. Hannah was there. I could hear her moving about, rinsing dishes, her voice absent from the exchange. She didn't correct them. She didn't stop them. She let the words stand. Her silence gave them permission as it always had. I turned and walked back into the living room, sitting down on the couch with a calmness that surprised me. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I didn't demand an apology. Something inside me had shifted, something permanent. That evening, I waited until the air grew heavy with the smell of dinner. I called them all into the living room, my voice steady, deliberate. Jacob slouched in first, arms crossed, his eyes already rolling. Kate followed, her phone still in her hand, tapping furiously as if whatever conversation she was having mattered more than the one about to happen. Hannah came last, drying her hands on a towel, her face wary, as though she already sensed a storm brewing. I sat in the armchair, the only seat that gave me the height to look down on them. For once, I wanted them to feel small. I overheard what was said in the kitchen today. I began, my tone flat, about me being an outsider, about me being just an ATM, about how I'll never be your father. Jacob smirked, feigning indifference. Kate's eyes flickered with guilt before she buried them back into her phone. Hannah opened her mouth, but I raised a hand and cut her off. No, don't excuse it. Don't soften it. I heard every word. And for the first time in 7 years, I believe you. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. I've spent these years paying for this house, for your schools, for your clothes, for every extra you've demanded without hesitation. I've tried to treat you as my own, even when you reminded me daily that I wasn't. But today, I realized something. I leaned forward, my voice low, sharp. Respect is not given. It's earned. And it's clear I will never earn it here. Not from you too. Not even from your mother, who lets this rot grow under her roof. Hannah flinched, but I didn't give her space to reply. So here's what will happen. From this day forward, I'm done. No more money for trips. No more gadgets. No more sports teams. No more extras. If I am only an ATM in this house, then the ATM is closed. Permanently. Jacob scoffed, his arrogance untouchable. You can't just do that. Mom won't let you. I turned to Hannah. Won't she? Because I'm about to do something else too. If I'm not your father, then maybe you'd prefer to live with the man who is. Your real father. The one who shows up twice a year with broken promises and empty hands. If blood matters more than everything I've done, then blood can take care of you. Kate's phone slipped from her hand and hit the carpet. Jacob's smirk faltered. Hannah gasped, the towel still clutched in her fist. You don't mean that, she whispered. Oh, I mean every word, I said, my voice like steel. I have carried this family while being treated like a stranger in my own home. I won't carry it another step. If respect is too much to ask for, then you can take your disrespect with you to Memphis. Let your real father feed you. Let him pay for braces and cars and camps. Let him cover the bills I've been covering. Because I am done. The room went still. Jacob's face twisted, caught between defiance and panic. Kate blinked rapidly, her composure cracking. Hannah looked at me like she had never seen me before. You can't just throw them out, she finally said, her voice trembling. I'm not throwing them out, I replied coldly. I'm giving them exactly what they want. A life without me. A life where I am not their father. I'll even drive them there myself, pack their things, and drop them off at their father's doorstep. Then we'll see how much better life looks when they spit on the only man who has ever actually been here. Kate's lip quivered, but she said nothing. Jacob muttered under his breath, You're bluffing. I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands. No, I'm finished bluffing. I'm finished hoping. From now on, I will not pay for my own humiliation. If I am not part of this family, then I owe this family nothing. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Outside, the rain finally began to fall, tapping against the windows like a reminder that storms do not wait for anyone's permission. For years I had believed patience could bridge the gap, that sacrifice could win love, that consistency could create respect. But that afternoon, in the laughter of 2 ungrateful children, I had heard the truth, and now I would act on it. I stood, dismissing them with a single gesture. Dinner's getting cold. Eat. But remember this conversation because it will not change. The days of me pretending I belong here are over. And with that, I walked upstairs, leaving them to choke on the silence I had finally broken. The next morning I began packing. Not my things, there's Jacob's sneakers still muddy from last week's game. Kate's posters, peeling at the corners, taped to her walls. Their clothes, their trophies, their clutter that had filled every inch of the house I kept upright. I pulled out suitcases, folded shirts with mechanical precision, stacked shoes in boxes, unplugged chargers from walls. When Jacob came downstairs and saw his life being disassembled, his mouth opened wide with fury. "What the hell are you doing?" I didn't look up from the drawer I was emptying. "Packing. You said I'd never be your dad. You said I was just an outsider. Outsiders don't pay. Outsiders don't stay. So you'll be living with your real father." His laugh was brittle, almost desperate. "You're insane. You can't just—" I turned to face him, holding one of his hoodies in my hand. My voice cut through him like ice. "I can. And I will." Kate appeared behind him, pale, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Her voice wavered. "Mom, do something." Hannah came down then, still in her robe, her face stricken. She stared at the growing piles of luggage, at the order in my movements, and she realized I wasn't bluffing. "David," she whispered. "Stop, please. They didn't mean it. They're kids." I looked at her, and my words were sharp, merciless. "They meant every word. And you let them. You've let this poison grow for years with your silence. Don't beg me now. The decision's made." Jacob stormed forward, snatching the hoodie from my hands. "I'm not going anywhere. You can't make me." I stepped closer, lowering my voice to a whisper meant only for him. "If you're old enough to spit in my face, you're old enough to live without me. Get your things. We're leaving this afternoon." He backed away, his bravado collapsing under the weight of certainty. By noon, the car was packed. Suitcases stacked in the trunk, boxes in the back seat. Kate sat with her arms wrapped around herself, tears running silently down her cheeks. Jacob muttered curses under his breath, staring out the window, refusing to look at me. Hannah hovered on the porch as I closed the trunk. "David, please," she begged, her voice cracking. "Don't do this. They'll hate you forever." "They already do," I said flatly. "I'm just giving them the life they asked for." She reached for my arm, but I pulled away. "If you want to come, get in the car. If not, stay." "But they're going." Her hand trembled in the air before she let it fall. She didn't move. The drive to Memphis was long and silent. Rain traced rivers down the windshield. The only sounds were Jacob's occasional scoffs, Kate's muffled sobs, and the steady hum of tires on asphalt. I kept my eyes fixed on the road, my grip steady on the wheel. Each mile felt like a severed thread, cutting me free from the illusion I had lived in for 7 years. When we pulled up to their father's apartment complex, the reality struck them like a slap. The building was a decaying brick block with peeling paint and weeds clawing through the parking lot. Rusted mailboxes leaned against the wall, names scratched out and rewritten in marker. Jacob blinked, his bravado draining. This can't be it. But it was. I hauled their suitcases out of the trunk, stacking them on the cracked pavement. Kate didn't move, her face pale. Jacob stood frozen, his fists clenched. The door to the building creaked open, and their father stepped out. He looked smaller than I remembered. Unkempt beard, stained shirt, exhaustion etched deep into his features. His eyes flicked to me, then to the kids, then to the luggage. "What's going on?" he muttered, confusion laced with irritation. I straightened, my voice calm, deliberate. "Your children wanted a life without me. They told me I'm not their father. So now they're yours again. Every responsibility, every cost, every late-night call. It's yours." He blinked, stunned. "I can't. I don't have space, I don't have. Not my problem." I cut him off. "They're your blood. Handle it." Kate's tears spilled over, her voice breaking. "Please, David, don't leave us here." I looked at her, at the girl I had tucked into bed 1,000 times, and I forced my heart into stone. "You said I wasn't family. Family is where you're going now." Jacob snapped then, his voice cracking. "This is abuse. You can't just abandon us like this." I leaned in close, my words sharp enough to scar. "Abandonment is what your father did years ago. I gave you 7 years of my life. You threw it away. This is not abandonment. This is consequence." Hannah's car pulled into the lot then. She rushed out, breathless, her hair disheveled from the drive. She grabbed Jacob's arm, then Kate's, her eyes blazing with fury and fear. "You can't do this," she shouted at me. "They're children. They'll be destroyed." I met her gaze with cold finality. "No, Hannah. They're old enough to know the weight of their words. They're old enough to live with the man they still call Dad. If they think I'm just a wallet, then let them see what life is without one." Her face crumpled, but I turned away, climbed back into the car, and pulled out of the lot. I didn't look in the mirror as they stood there, 3 figures blurred by rain, clutching their luggage outside a crumbling building that would never shelter them the way I had. For the first time in years, the car felt light, empty, free. That night, Hannah and the kids didn't come home. Instead, she texted me that they were staying at her sister's house. Her words were clipped, filled with anger. "You've gone too far. We'll talk when you calm down." But I wasn't angry. I was calm. For the first time in 7 years, I felt a clarity that bordered on peace. Days passed in silence. The house was still, every room echoing with absence. No slammed doors, no muttered insults, no laughter that stopped when I walked in. Just silence. And then, slowly, the messages began. Jacob's first, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Please don't leave me here." Kate's next, "I just want to come home. I didn't mean what I said." Even Hannah's, late one night, "I should have stopped them. I let this grow too long. Please talk to us." But I didn't reply. I let them sit with the truth, with the reality they had chosen. Because for the first time, it wasn't me carrying the weight of their words. It was them. The silence lasted longer than I expected. Days turned into weeks, and the house remained a hollow shell of itself. No footsteps pounding the stairs, no music seeping under bedroom doors, no voices echoing through the halls. The refrigerator stayed full longer. The laundry baskets stayed light. It was a silence heavy enough to be mistaken for peace, until night came. That's when the quiet carried weight, pressing against me like a reminder of everything I had severed. First, I welcomed it. I slept without interruption. I ate meals in stillness, the chair across from me empty and mercifully so. I told myself I had finally taken back my life, that I had cut the chains of disrespect that had bound me for years. But peace is not as clean as we imagine. It comes with echoes, and those echoes came to me through the phone. Jacob's first message was short, almost careless, as if he wanted to test the waters without exposing himself too much. "Sorry for what I said. Things are bad here. Can we talk?" I didn't reply. 2 days later, Kate wrote. Her words were longer, rawer. "David, please. I didn't mean it. I miss home. I can't sleep here. I just want to come back." I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, before I set the phone down. Then came Hannah. Her message was the heaviest of all. "You were right. I should have said something years ago. I let them treat you like you didn't matter, and I told myself it was just a phase. I see now what that silence cost us. Please, don't shut us out forever." For a long time, I ignored them all. I told myself silence was its own lesson, that if they felt the weight of abandonment, maybe they would understand what I had carried for years. But slowly, the messages became a flood. Kate's words grew desperate. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, I need you." Jacob's arrogance cracked into panic. "Dad can't take care of us. He doesn't even try. I don't know what to do." Even Hannah's tone shifted from anger to regret. "I made excuses. I left you to stand alone, and I let them disrespect you under your own roof. I see it now. I see everything you carried. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try." One evening, I sat in the living room surrounded by the echoes of my own decisions. The TV hummed without sound. A glass of bourbon sweated on the table beside me. Their words stared at me from the phone screen, each apology another drop of water wearing away at the stone wall I had built. Finally, I replied with a single message. "If you want to talk, come to the house. But understand this, you will listen first." They came the next weekend. Hannah pulled up with the kids in her sister's car, the 3 of them stepping out like soldiers returning from a lost war. Jacob looked thinner, His shoulders slumped, the fire gone from his eyes. Kate clutched her backpack like it was armor, her face blotchy from tears she had cried long before arriving. Hannah's face was pale, her expression taut with hope and dread. We sat in the living room, the same place where weeks earlier I had delivered my verdict. I remained in the armchair, the same position of height and authority. They sat opposite, side by side, a family without the shield of arrogance or silence. I spoke first. I want you to understand why I did what I did. I didn't leave you because I stopped caring. I left you because you told me in every word and action that I wasn't family, that I was nothing but money to you. You didn't just disrespect me. You erased me. Jacob's eyes fell to the floor. Kate's lips trembled. Hannah reached for their hands, but I stopped her with a look. No, don't comfort them. They need to feel this. For years I carried this family. Every bill, every repair, every sacrifice. And in return, I was mocked, dismissed, treated like I didn't belong in my own home. And you, Hannah, stood by in silence. You let it happen. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. For once, she let the weight of truth crush her. Jacob finally spoke, his voice low, cracking. I was wrong. I don't know what I thought. I was angry. I wanted to hurt you, and I did. I didn't mean it. Kate followed, her words spilling in a rush. I didn't mean it either. I was just saying things to my friends. I didn't think you'd hear. I didn't think it mattered. But it does. I'm sorry. I let their apologies hang in the air, heavy and desperate. Then I leaned forward, my voice steady. Words matter. Actions matter. Respect matters. And from now on, if I stay in this family, there will be rules. Not for chores. Not for curfews. For respect. You will treat me as a father, not as an outsider. You will listen when I speak, not roll your eyes or wait for your mother to translate. You will acknowledge that everything I do for this family comes from love, not obligation. And if any of you choose to go back to mockery or contempt, I will walk out and not return. Their faces froze, the finality of my words sinking in. I am not a wallet. I am not a placeholder. I am a man who has given 7 years of his life to you. If that means nothing to you, then say so now, and I will leave for good. But if you want me here, if you want me in this family, then you will give me what I have earned. Respect. The silence stretched until it broke under Kate's sob. She buried her face in her hands, nodding through her tears. Jacob swallowed hard and whispered, I understand. Hannah wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. You're right. You always were. I failed you by not demanding their respect. I thought keeping peace meant keeping quiet, but I see now that silence is what poisoned us. I leaned back, my decision carved into stone. This is your last chance. All of you. I won't fight for a place in this family again. Either you accept me as part of it or I walk away. Hannah reached for my hand then, tentative, like a woman afraid of touching a flame. We'll do better. I'll do better. Just give us the chance. I let her hand rest there for a moment before I gripped it. Not gently, not warmly, but firmly. This is not forgiveness, I said. This is a warning. Respect is the only currency that keeps this family alive. Without it, we're finished. The weeks that followed were uneasy, fragile. Jacob began answering when I spoke, his tone clipped but not mocking. Kate started sitting at the dinner table again, her phone tucked away. Hannah corrected them when they slipped, her voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. The house began to shift, not into harmony, but into order. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't healed. But it was a start. And as I watched them try, haltingly, to rebuild what they had broken, I realized this. Love is fragile, but respect is absolute. Without it, a family is nothing but strangers under the same roof. With it, maybe, just maybe, there is hope. Still, the question lingered in my mind, haunting every quiet moment. Was I right to draw such a brutal line, to force my family to face the consequences of their contempt? Or had I burned something that could never truly be rebuilt? Tell me, what would you have done?